evening. This is Mecca from GMS, and I'm doing a video on science versus the Bible. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, double honors to the elders Tahar, the elder Gabar, and the elder Rhinelab. And basically I'm going to break down, basically how ever since grade school, we've been taught nothing but lies concerning, how man was created, concerning the earth and, how it relates to, the other stars in space, and things like that, things of that nature. So, basically my video was about how man was created, what's really going on in the earth, what's going on with the moon. I'm going to get into these so-called UFOs out here also. Basically, everything, we've been taught is a lie. So, basically I'm going to break down how all that stuff relates to the Bible and how everything about that is in the Bible. So, I'm going to get into Genesis a little bit. I'm not going to break down the whole Genesis because the elder Tahar and, the elders, they pretty much covered that already, but I'm going to get a little bit into it. But I'm going to start off with 2 Peter 3:8. So you can actually have the right understanding. Because when they talk about how, the Lord created the earth in 7 days, people take that literally. So 2 Peter 3:8, that breaks that down. And this is what it says. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness. So, when the Lord was creating the earth, and he did it in 7 days, that was actually 7,000 years. People take that literally. A lot of Christians who try to break down time and how long we've been here, they might only think we've been here about 6,000 years. That's because they didn't add into the fact that 2 Peter 3:8 says that a day to the Lord is 1,000 years. So, basically, people have a hard time believing that the whole earth was populated by Adam and Eve, and that's what it is. That's exactly what happened. And, Genesis is going to prove that. But what I want to say is, the whole earth is, everyone that's here today came out of Adam and Eve's seed. Yes, that's true. But when Adam and Eve were created, when Adam was created, he wasn't the only person here. Adam actually had parents. It was actually a group of people that were created at the same time. So I'm going to go to Genesis 5:1 so I can help prove that. So Genesis 5:1. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made him, male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. So it says right here, and he called their name Adam. Okay, so there, that doesn't mean one person. There, that's plural. That's more than one person. So obviously, Adam was not the only man created. When man was created out of the dust of the ground, Adam wasn't the only one. Okay, there was actually a group of people, and they were called Adamites. Okay, so to prove that, to make it more, to make it make sense to you, you have the tribe of Judah. Okay. Out of that tribe, you got a whole line of bloodline of people that are called Judites. Okay. But the original man was named Judah. Okay. So that doesn't mean everybody from that line is going to be called Judah. No. That means that Judah, that was the first man from that tribe, that was his name. So everyone else, they have different names. Some might take on the same name, but we're still Judites, okay? Because that's the tribe we're from. So when Adam was created, his name was Adam, okay? But at the time when man was created, no, Adam wasn't the only name of, all the men that were, here at that time. Everyone had names. People had different names. Maybe some were called Adam. Who knows? But at the same time, they were created together, and they were called Adamites. Okay? The Lord called them Adam. So it wasn't just one man and one woman created to start this whole thing off. Now, like I said, the whole earth is populated with Adam's seed. Okay? That's because if you follow Adam's line, his seed, it leads you to Noah. So by the time the floods came, Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives, and his wife, were the only ones who lived at that time. So, after the flood, which every nation has recorded really happened, okay, all the nations around the world pretty much have stated that there was a worldwide flood, okay, which proves Noah's Ark to be true. Okay, so at that time, by the time Noah got on the scene, everyone that was out of Noah, his seeds, they all came from Adam, okay? But when man was first created, Adam wasn't the only man here, okay? So I'm going to go to Genesis 1 and 20, help edify that. I'm going to read down to the 27th verse, and it says, okay, so in the Hebrew, right here in English, it says, and God said. In the Hebrew, the word is Elohim, okay? So the word for God is Elohim, which means powers, okay? Allah means God, means power. Allah means God, means power, and power means God, okay? Elohim means powers, plural, okay? So it says in verse 20, Genesis 1 and 20, and God said, okay? So the word there is, and the power said, okay? Because that's what it says in the Hebrews. And the power said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life. Now, when it says the power said, they're referring to the Lord Yahweh Shai, which is Yahweh's son. Okay, so this is Yahweh Shai and the angels creating the earth, creating everything. Okay, the Most High, he didn't create everything himself. He actually had his son create everything. So when it comes to the creation of life, the earth, the planets, the stars, everything, Yahweh Shai was the one that did it. And of course, Yahweh laid out the blueprint for him to do that. So let me keep reading. And the power said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life, and the fowl may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created whales and every living creature that moveth. Okay, so when it says every living creature that moveth, that includes man. Okay, he's not just talking about animals and anything that, any animal that moves. He's talking about man too. Okay, we're creatures also. Okay, so by this time, man was already created. Okay, so man was created around the same time as animals were created. Man was created. Okay. So the powers created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and God saw that it was good. So it says abundantly. Okay, that helps prove what I'm trying to tell you. When man was created, it wasn't just one man. It was men and women, and they were created abundantly, meaning there was a lot of them. Okay. And it says, and the powers blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day. Now we know the 5th day means 5,000 years. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast on the earth after his kind. And it was so. So, when you see a horse, okay, and you see a zebra, you're going to know that they came from the same kind. They might look different, they might vary in looks, but they're still a horse. Okay, you might have different kinds, you might have brown horses, you might have white horses, okay, just like humans. All right, so if that makes any sense to you, then you might have zebras. Doesn't mean that they're not horses, okay? They're still horses. So same thing with the birds, okay, and all the other animals, if it makes sense to you. And God said, and the power said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing and the beast of the earth after his kind, and it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Okay, so when he's saying, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish and over the sea, he's letting you know that, he wants us, man's already created at this time, he's already created. But what he's saying here is, let us make man in our image with laws, okay? Let him make it in our image with laws. And, he gave us dominion over all the animals and, everything that's on the earth. So that's why, back in the day, around this time, every animal used to fear us. Now today, animals fear us today, but you walk up to a lion, you're going to be scared of the lion. At this time, the lion was scared of us, okay? But eventually, we lost that power. So, we keep reading. So the powers created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. Now we read in Genesis 5. This is Genesis chapter 1. Genesis 5, it said, and he called their name Adam. Okay, so man and female, they're created at the same time. Okay. Now when they're referring to Eve coming out of being made from Adam's rib, that's not literally, that's metaphorically, okay? The reason we know that's metaphorically because at this time when man and female were created, he created us abundantly, okay? Now you can't take a female, and we know he's talking about family, he's talking about a family member. Like when you say, like, she's my flesh and blood, you know what I mean? How could you do that to your own flesh and blood? Okay, so when he says she's flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone, she came out of my rib, he's not talking about his actual rib. He's talking about his family. Okay, so when they're talking about Eve being created out of his rib, he's talking about family. That's a metaphor. Okay, and like I said, we know this because male and female were created together at the same time. Okay, and Adam named the animals and females. Okay, Adam was the one that did that. So he called them women. So basically what they try to tell us, basically is that we came here millions of years ago, and we formed from monkeys. They don't tell us where how it really, they try to tell us it was a big. I'm not even going to get into that part, all right? But where they try to say man was started from was we evolved from monkeys millions of years ago. They tell us that the earth was here billions of years ago, and when we know, according to this Bible, that the earth was here about 13,000 years, okay? It's not that old. The earth is really young, okay? So, their basic point of trying to prove where we came from is their evolution. Now, eventually what happened was, I'm going to read in Job 30:1, is basically, the earth was populated. We had nations on the earth, okay? And the Edomites, eventually, they started out as Hebrews, but eventually they lost their nationality, okay? The Lord brought them down to a lower level, okay? And that lower level meaning, like, they became cavemen. They lost their nationality, they lost their language, they became cavemen, So when they refer to these the bones that they might have from evolution, they're basically talking about the bones that they found, as far as back in the day, and those bones were actually the Edomites. Now I'm going to read in Job 30:1 exactly what was going on with the Edomites. Now, if you don't know by now, the Edomites are these Caucasians, okay? The so-called white man. So Job 30:1 says, "But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock." Okay? So he's talking about a people, so foul that he wouldn't even let them near their flock, his flock of dogs. You know what I mean? Because if he let them near his dogs, these nasty motherfuckers might actually fuck their dogs. Okay, what he's referring to is like the cavemen in the Caucasus Mountains. Okay, and what do they call themselves today? Caucasians. Caucasian meaning cave dweller. Okay. So at this time, this is when they were at a low level. The Lord brought them down. Some of them looked retarded, couldn't even walk upright, hairy as hell, you know what I mean? And they lived like fucking animals, you know what I mean? So Job 31 says, "But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished? For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness, in former time desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth among men. They cried after them as after a thief." Okay, so that lets you know that they were driven into those Caucasus Mountains. Okay? Now, these Caucasians, the white man actually thinks that's where his origin started. No, his origin started with Esau. Okay? Jacob and Esau. And he's Esau. Okay? That's the progenitor of the Edomites, the white race, so to say. Okay? So, eventually, like I said, they lost their nationality. They lost their laws, lost their language. So eventually what happened was they were driven into the caves. Okay. To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. So what happened was they tried to tell us we evolved from monkeys. Now, the reason they say this is because they have the bones of these cavemen, and they look retarded. Some of them look like fucking monkeys. You know what I mean? Because they couldn't even walk straight. So what they would say is we came from monkeys based off of that evidence. No, what happened was they were brought to a lower level. And, basically we were living according to laws. We always, ever since man started, we always had laws to live by, and we weren't no damn heathens, okay? We were always sophisticated people, okay? But them, like I said, the Lord brought them down, and that's what happened to them. So that's their biggest evidence for their evolution theories, all right? Like I said, with the animals, God created horses, you know what I mean? So you might have variations of horses, but you're not going to get, you're not going to get a goat coming out of a horse. It doesn't work like that. All right. So basically, that's how this whole thing works as far as how man was created and, the earth. Now, the flood was about 2,500 years ago. 5,000 years ago. It's like 2,500 BC, around that time. And, basically most of these nations around the world have a record of that. They also have a record of, Noah's Ark. There's people that actually have claimed that they found it. They actually have, they found Pharaoh's chariots under the Red Sea. So it's a lot of things, there's a lot of evidence for things that are in the Bible that, that have been actually discovered. There have been human giants found in the earth. So that story of David and Goliath, that's a real story. Okay, there were human giants on the earth. And there's plenty of evidence of the skeleton bones, all over the earth that proves that. Okay, so if you do your research, you're going to find these things. Okay, so I'm going to get into a little video of carbon dating, how these devils try to prove, the Bible wrong. They try to say we was here millions of years ago. The earth was here billions of years ago. That's bullshit. Okay, but before I do that, like I said, Adam was not the first man here. There was other people here. Okay, so if you understand that, you'll understand that when I say that, when the Lord's talking about the tree of good and evil and don't eat from that tree, he's obviously not talking about an actual tree. Okay, he's not talking about a tree. Okay, he's talking about a person. All right, so that'll give you an understanding of really what was going on in Genesis. But I said, if you really want the true breakdown of Genesis, look up the Elder Tahara's video on the breakdown of Genesis, and the Elder Ryan Lobb, he did a little video. So if you really want the full breakdown, make sure you look those videos up. But my next video, I'm going to get into carbon dating, which proves that you can't trust none of the time dates that they give you as far as concerning the earth. Okay, nothing they say you can't believe it. All right, you gotta do your own research. And like I said, if you want the real knowledge, and science means knowledge, you want real science, you gotta come to the Bible. So my next video, I'm gonna get into that, and I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna break down what's going on with the earth, what's really going on with this earth. All right.
Which is why it never works. When they first invented carbon dating, 1949, Willard Libby, they did some testing, and they said the lower leg of a mammoth was 15,000 years old, but the skin was 21,000. How can two parts of the same animal be different ages? Quite obviously, we know one of the numbers is wrong. So how would you know either of them are right? And if either one's right, how would you know which one? I see no way to tell. Well, let's see if it's getting better. 14 years later, they tested a living mollusk, a clam, and it was 2,300 years old. Still alive. In 1970, at the Nobel Symposium, they said, if a carbon date supports our theories, we put it in the main text. If it does not entirely contradict them, we put it in a footnote. If it's completely out of date, we just drop it. You mean they can pick and choose any numbers they want? Exactly correct. If the number doesn't fit what they expected, they throw the number out. 1971, freshly killed seal was 1,300 years old when they carbon dated it. Troubles with carbon dating are undeniably deep and serious. Despite 35 years of technological refinement and better understanding, the underlying assumptions have been strongly challenged, and warnings are out that radiocarbon dating may soon find itself in a crisis situation. Continuing use of the method depends on a fix-it-as-we-go approach, allowing for contamination here, fractionation there, and calibration wherever possible. It should be no surprise then that fully half the dates are rejected. Did you follow that? Out of thousands of carbon dates that have been carbon dating times that they've done it, half of the numbers are thrown out. How do they know they're wrong? And also, how would you know the other half is right? If half your test results have to be thrown out, it ought to raise red flags in somebody's brain. Wait a minute. This is stupid. What are we doing? We're wasting our time here. And the article goes on to say, the wonder is, surely, that the remaining half have come to be accepted. No matter how useful it is, the radiocarbon method is still not capable of yielding accurate and reliable results. There are gross discrepancies, the chronology is uneven and relative, and the accepted dates are actually selected dates. This whole blessed thing is nothing but 13th century alchemy. And I agree. That's 1981. I've got all these in chronological order. It never gets better. 1984, living snails carbon dated 27,000 years old. 1992, two mammoths found side by side. They carbon date them. One is 22,000, the other is 16,000. Which one's right? Or are both of them wrong? Or are both of them right? There is no possible way to tell. In 1996, Carl Swisher at Berkeley University used the most advanced techniques to date human fossils. says last spring he was reevaluating Homo erectus skulls found in Java in the 1930s. He was testing the sediment found with them. The species was supposed to be extinct for 250,000 years. Swisher used 2 different dating methods. He kept making the same startling find. The bones were 53,000 years at most, and possibly no more than 27,000. Well, I'd like to point out 2 things here. He's looking for 250,000 as his answer, but he keeps getting 53 to 27,000, okay, which is only 1/4 of what he wants, 1/5 of what he wants, okay? But he's still getting a 96% error. I mean, is it 27,000 or 53,000? This is not an exact science. So when they publish an article in the paper and say, we found a dinosaur bone or a mammoth bone, and it was, 17,221 years old in 6 months and 3 days. Right, come on. You don't know that. They're making up this stuff, just absolutely making it up.
So basically you have an idea, that carbon dating, all the dates they try to give us, that they've been throwing at us have been bullshit. They've been making shit up. Nothing they tell you, is the fucking truth. You can't believe nothing these devils say. They make dates up. And the carbon dating doesn't even work after a certain amount of time. All right, so you can't trust that. Like I said, the Earth is about 13, maybe 12,000 years old. All right, so like I said, if you really want true knowledge, true science, you gotta come to the Bible. All right, but my next video, I'm going to talk about the Earth a little bit. But like I said, if you hung around this far for this long, I got a lot of visuals, and basically you're going to see a lot of stuff that's going to blow your mind. Especially in my later videos, which I'm going to save the best for last. But next thing I want to get into is the light. How do we get light from the Earth? Okay, how do we get daytime and nighttime? Okay, and the Bible breaks that down also. So I'm going to start with Genesis 1 and 4. I'm going to start with Genesis 1 and 16. All right. So Genesis 1 and 16 said, and the powers made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Okay, so they basically been telling us since elementary school that we get our light from the sun. Okay, that's false. Okay, and I'm going to prove that. I just read Genesis 1 and 16, where he's obviously talking about, and the powers made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. So he's obviously talking about the greater light to rule the day being the sun, the lesser light to rule the night being the moon. Okay, but I'm gonna start with when light was first created. Okay, so it says in Genesis 1 and 3, and the power said, let there be light, and there was light. And the power saw the light, that it was good, and the powers divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light, and the darkness he called night. And the powers called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So in verse Genesis 1, verses 3 through 6, you basically verse 3 through 5, that's created. Okay, so at this time there wasn't no sun, there wasn't a moon. Okay, the light was created first. Okay, now we go back down to Genesis 16, and it said, and the powers made 2 great lights. Okay, so we know in verses 1, chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, there obviously wasn't a sun at this time. So how was there light? Well, the light comes from the elements, hydrogen, oxygen, and, the other elements that are in the sky. Okay. So when it's daytime on this side of Earth, it's nighttime on this side of Earth. Daytime on this side of Earth, nighttime on this side of Earth. Okay. So that's how it works. That has nothing to do with the sun, though. That's the Earth's atmosphere. Okay, so basically, when you might be outside, you might look this way, right? And nighttime might be approaching. The sky's dark over here. You could be on a borderline of the light. You turn around, And then you look this way and there's a lot more light. Okay, sometimes that can happen because you might be on the borderline of the light and the darkness. Okay, and that's how it works. Before there was even a sun, there was still day and night. Okay, so that them telling us that we get our light from the sun, that's a damn lie. All right, we get our light from the elements in the sky. Okay, the Lord illuminated the elements, and that's where we get our light from. So yeah, I'm gonna go to Psalms 93 and 1, and they actually have a there's plenty of pictures of the earth, and you'll see half the earth is lit, the other half is nighttime. Okay, now you don't see the sun bouncing off the earth and creating that light. No, the earth has its own light. Okay, we don't need the sun for our light. So Psalms 93 and 1. Which is going to lead me to what the next thing I'm talking about when it comes to the earth. And 93 and 1 says, "The Lord reigneth, he is clothed with majesty. The Lord Yahweh is clothed with strength, wherewith he hath girded himself. The world also is established, that it cannot be moved." Okay? So, when it says the world also is established, that it cannot be moved, you know what that means? That means the earth doesn't revolve around the sun revolves around the earth. Okay? They've been teaching us since we were, in grade school. That's another damn lie, that the earth revolves around the sun from the sun's gravitational pull. Nah, that's bullshit. Okay? Because the earth was created first anyway. So the sun revolves around the earth. Okay? My next video is going to help me prove that. Another scripture is going to help that helps me prove this is let me see, Isaiah 40 and 22. Let's go there. Isaiah 40. Okay. Now I'm going to go to Joshua 10 and 13 first. And I'm going to go back, then I'm going to get back to this one. All right, so Joshua 10 and 13 says, "And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day." Okay, so while we were at war claiming our land back, one of the wars, the Lord had he actually stopped the sun from moving. Okay, so when it says the sun stood still, that's exactly what it means. That means the sun was moving, okay, and the Lord stopped the sun from moving. Okay, so that helps, that edifies what I'm trying to tell you about the earth revolves around the sun. That's bullshit. The sun revolves around the earth, and this proves that in this scripture. Okay, the sun stood still for a whole day. Okay, that means the sun didn't go down for a whole day. All right, so that proves that the sun revolves around the earth according to the scriptures. Okay, now Isaiah 40 and 22. Okay, because 400 years ago, around Columbus time, these devils that passed their knowledge down to us, they basically thought the earth was flat. Now, they finally came to the knowledge that the earth was round recently, but, maybe just 400 years ago, these idiots thought the earth was flat. All right? I'm going to prove to you through Isaiah 40 and 22 that the prophets always knew that the earth was round. Okay? So who are you going to trust? You going to trust the prophets, or you going to trust these devils that have been teaching you lies after lie after lie since you were a fucking kid? So Joshua 40 and 22. "It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. Okay, so it says, it is he that sits upon the circles of the earth. Okay, so that proves to you that the prophets always knew the earth was round. Okay, this wasn't no debate. We always knew that. So like I said, if you want real knowledge, you gotta come to the men of GMS, the true prophets of the Lord. So I'm gonna get into my next video, and like Psalms 93:1 said, the earth doesn't move. Okay, so not only does the earth not revolve around the sun, the earth doesn't spin. Okay, they've been telling us that the earth spins 1,000 miles per hour. That's fucking bullshit. All right, how the earth gonna spin when the Bible says the earth doesn't move? Okay, and you got to be a real fucking idiot to actually think this earth is spinning right now as we speak at 1,000 miles per hour. All right, but I got a series of experiments that are going to prove that. You know what I mean? So just hang with me and check it out.
So if I launched this hot air balloon on the equator and I was in the air off of the Earth's crust and no longer subject to its movement, since I'm in the air, in 1 hour 1,000 miles would pass below me, according to this claim.
battery off. Oh.
Oh, that looks painful. I don't think we're going to take the ferry on the way home. Baby, are you going to be okay? Are you still trying to get your sea legs? We can take the plane on the way home, okay? I'm sorry, baby. Only 2 more hours.
So, you have a good idea that the earth doesn't spin, the earth doesn't revolve around the sun, the sun revolves around the earth, okay? Nothing is in this universe was created before the earth, okay? Nothing. The earth was created first. So, my next video, I'm going to get into the moon, what's going on with the moon, okay? Because we're going to talk a whole bunch of lies about that too, okay? Now, I'm going to start with Genesis 1:16. And we already read this earlier, but I'm going to reread it. And it said, and the powers made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. Okay, so when it says the Lord made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Okay, so he's obviously talking about the sun to rule the day, the lesser light being the moon to rule the night. Okay, so they've been telling us that, the sun lights the moon. Okay, that's bullshit. Alright, that's fucking bullshit. Alright, it says right here in the Bible, the lesser light to rule the night. Okay, now he's not going to call it a light if it takes another light to actually make it a light. Okay, like, you got to be a real fucking idiot to actually look at the moon and tell yourself that the sun is what's making that light up. No, just like the earth, the elements that are on the moon, okay, and there might be some other factors, okay, but that's what lights the moon up. All right, so I'm gonna go to John 14:2. Okay, and the moon is important is because the new moon is when the Sabbath is. Right now, the Sabbath is Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown. Okay, it's February right now. Okay, right now it's Saturday. It's actually Sunday sundown right now. So I'm sorry, it's early Sunday right now. So John 14:2 says, let not your heart be, I'm starting with verse 1. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. If I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Okay? So, what he's letting you know is, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. Now, he's not talking about no damn mansion, big-ass house that, 20 people can live in. No, he's not talking about that. When he says mansions, he's talking about planets, okay? Galaxies, okay? Planets, all right? So, he says he's going to prepare them for us, meaning we're not just going to get, go back to our homeland, Israel, and rule that and rule the earth, okay? No. We're actually going to inherit planets. Okay, he's not out there creating this stuff for nothing. All right, you know what I mean? You look up to the sky, you see the stars and all that. You see these galaxies out there. He's not creating them things for nothing. All right, we're going to inhabit those. All right, and that's what the Lord is talking about. This also proves that, like I said in Genesis, the Lord, the Most High, wasn't the one talking. Okay, when it says, "Let us make man in our image," okay, that's Yahushua, the Lord's Son, talking to the angels, okay? So that this verse actually helps edify and prove that also, okay? So it says, I'm going to read it again. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Okay? And whether I go, ye know, and the way ye know. Okay? So that's what he's talking about. He's talking about other planets. All right. So I got a nice visual. I got a nice video that's gonna, they got footage from NASA, when they went up there, and basically, they got a lot of close shots that they've never shown you before. You got independent, people with telescopes that can see the moon from their backyards. All right, and they got some great shots. All right, and they've been telling us that the moon is gray. Like, that's bullshit. The moon ain't gray. Them fake ass pictures they took when they, pretended to land on the moon. Of course, they didn't actually land on the motherfucking moon. All right, because they haven't went back since the Apollo missions. Okay, so basically, when you wanna if you wanna basically find out what's going on, you can actually get on the line and actually link up with NASA, and you can actually get your own pictures and photos of what's really going on the moon. But someone actually put together a nice video named Jose Escamilla, and he has a very great video basically showing you the moon up close, and he breaks down a few things of, what's going on up there. And yeah, I mean, this thing is crazy. Like, I was looking for a video for a while that, I couldn't really find anything on the moon, but eventually I came across this video and it blew my mind. And St. John 14 is definitely true. The Lord is preparing a place for us, and with this video it's going to help prove that, because you got all types of shit up there, and it ain't just dirt. Okay, you got structures up there. So I'm getting to the next video, and you can check it out.
Hey guys, we're live on the moon. It's early Monday morning, April the 9th. And I've been itching to get out and see the moon, but we've had cloudy skies and have been socked in. And I have a pretty, I don't have a totally clear sky, but I got a pretty good shot at the moon tonight. But as you can see, it's a beautiful moon, absolutely stunning moon. By the way, my name is Bill Bryson. I'm a amateur astronomer, novice. Don't know too much about anything, just about a little bit, enough to get you in trouble. And so what this camera does, if there's any kind of color up there at all, any kind of color, when I get in close, it'll enunciate it and bring it out. It's not a false color. There's color there. It's real. And it just amplifies it so you can see it. Isn't that a beautiful moon, guys? It's kind of interesting. People say there's no color on the moon, but yet here you see very plainly. The strange thing is that the astronomers say there's no color on the moon, but you can see the Mars, the seas. I don't know what you're doing right now, but if you kind of just take a deep breath and kind of look at what I'm showing you, you realize that this is kind of an unbelievable thing you're looking at. This is our moon, guys, and they're and with the color. Isn't this high adventure? I mention that every once in a while, just to get your blood going. But I get really excited when I look at a pretty moon, and this is a real pretty moon. I found that most of the people that don't like my videos are astronomers. They don't like to see the color. They think that the color is doesn't exist, so old Bill's doing something tricky. And old Bill's not doing nothing tricky. I'm just showing you what's up there. I have a crazy observatory. My observatory is a porch, and it has a roof. Now, how in the hell are you going to see the stars and the planets and the moon with a roof? That's a good question. Okay, guys. Hope everything's going your way, and I wish for you and yours clear skies, guys.
me, making Celestial is one of my biggest accomplishments, especially because it's about the true color of the moon. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be here today making this important movie about our closest celestial body in our immediate universe. The photography being presented here is what was going on the moon in 1994 when the Clementine mission took place. Since then, the Japanese, India, and Chinese space agencies have gone back to the moon. There seems to be a collective effort by NASA and all the foreign space agencies to keep us in the dark about the moon's true essence. When the Chinese probe did a recon over the moon's surface during their press conference, they had this huge tapestry behind them. It was a full-color map of the moon and the north and south poles. However, when they released the same image to the public, it is in black and white. Of the 1.8 million full-color digital photographs taken during the Clementine mission, I have only downloaded a small fraction of what they have. In the archive I now have, I've found hundreds of anomalies that are there plain as day. These anomalies are found on the front side and the far side of the moon. This is a crater known as Chukovsky, located on the far side of the moon. Just northeast of this crater is a large crater called Lobachevsky. It is 84 kilometers or 52 miles in diameter. The reason I decided to bring you here first is that during the Apollo missions in 1972, there was a special focus put on Lobachevsky by NASA. This is AS16-121-19407. This photo was taken about 75 miles above the crater by Apollo 16 on April 1972. It was a full-color photograph which reveals the surface as a light brown texture. What is unique about this photo is there appears to be a tower with a cross situated within the crevice on the rim of the crater. Looking closer at this crevice, there appears to be a hole on the side to the right of this tower. It almost looks like a tunnel opening made of concrete or metal. What brought this particular crater to my attention is this photo taken by Apollo 17 during the last mission to the moon on December 1972. This particular photo has been spread all over YouTube, Google, and hundreds of websites all over the world. It was taken just 8 months after the Apollo 16 photo. This is the original published photo of Lobachevsky taken during the Apollo 17 mission. It is AS17-150-23085. At first glance, there is nothing special here. This is because the Apollo 17 photo was published to the public upside down. So by turning the photo to its correct positioning, we now have a photo that still shows nothing really spectacular. This is because it was published overexposed to eliminate any details. The first thing to do is bring back the original contrast of the photo. The photo was taken in color, so by color correcting it, we now have a full color and better version that reveals what the landscape really looks like. After getting the photo back as close to its original version, we can now see what is really there that was hidden. Zooming into the Lobachevsky crater, we now see what appears to be a huge structure, or as many on the internet have thought, a large spaceship that crashed on the side of this crater. Looking closely, you have what appear to be tentacles or large cables stemming from out the top of this thing. It has an opening at its upper area where you can see a part of the background of the crater through this opening. Now, when I take you to the aerial view of the same crater, taken 22 years after the Apollo 17 mission from 1972, Lobachevsky's object appears to have been completed in its construction. The structure is at least 10 miles wide and perhaps 6 miles high. The fact that Apollo 16 captured the area where this structure would be photographed just 8 months later not only proves that there was an excavation going on the side of the crater, but that 8 months later this enormous structure suddenly appears on the Apollo 17 photo. 22 years later, the Clementine mission photographed the same object from 170 miles above the surface, and this is what it looks like. There are other specific anomalies going on in this crater. To the left of the structure is this disc-shaped object. 22 years later, it's still there. At the lower area of the crater is this large glowing area that 22 years later is also still there. Another thing to see is there is an opening that has been cut away on the rim of the crater right next to the huge structure, as if to suggest an easy way to get into the floor of the crater without having to rappel down the 6-mile-high ridge to the bottom of the crater. It's as if someone sliced through butter with a hot knife. To the left of the structure, there appears to have been a burning, glowing thing happening, and you can see a bluish-white smoke rising out of this area. We don't know what is truly going on. My mind is reeling with questions. This evidence shot by NASA brings you to the realization that during April and December 1972, within 8 months' time, someone or something built this huge structure 10 miles wide and 6 miles high. Even Donald Trump, with all the money in the world, will never achieve such an architectural marvel. I want to bring to your attention that this evidence filmed by NASA is solid proof that there was or still is someone on the moon capable of constructing such an enormous object spanning 10 miles and reaching 6 miles high over the surface of the moon. You're about to see the moon in full color for the first time in your life, and things that are up to 10 times larger than any city in the world. Just to the north of Aristarchus, there appears to be an area where there is mining going on. We don't know who is doing this, but in full color you see there are smoke trails and other activities occurring. You can see what appear to be huge water tanks and large structures of some kind. All these structures are atop this ridge line, and then you see a slant on the surface where there are many strange-looking structures. There is this one anomaly close to this crater, and it seems to be something coming out of a cave. It's not shaped like a crater, and there's another one of these in this area. And I am not going to say they are flying, but you can be the judge of that. They are certainly anomalous objects on the moon. Going back to the crater, we move southward. Passing all these amazing, colorful, and very busy landscapes, we get to a very large crater which will be our focus crater for this region. It's called Gisendi, and it is situated atop Mare Humorum. At the bottom of Mare Humorum, I found these two very interesting craters that you can see have massive structures within them. This one crater called Vitello seems to have the dome portion broken, or it might have caved in. You can tell the glass-like dome portion is broken. A very interesting thing happened here to cause this damage, and we don't have a clue as to the historical record involved in this dome being damaged. The crater is 26 miles in diameter. Moving slightly away to the left, we come upon crater Doppelmayr, which is 39 miles in diameter and almost a mile deep. There is no doubt this dome has an interior full of giant buildings and structures within the base of the crater. There appear to be some square buildings, and this tall structure has what appears to be the number 2 along its side. Again, you have to look at the sizes of these structures. They are massive. Moving to the right of the crater Vitello, I found this crater called Ramsden. There appears to be a glass or some kind of translucent dome over it. It protrudes upward. The sun is glistening off this area, and you can see some green areas within it. You can see some structures in there. When we zoom out a little further, you can plainly see this is in fact a dome-shaped structure. The crater is 15 miles in diameter and a little over a mile deep. Here we have a dome on the moon with some kind of environment going on that was built by somebody. In the last few minutes, I have shown you some very incredible and massive structures. What you're about to see next is what I consider one of the most incredible and mysterious structures I have ever seen on the moon. When I say this, you have to know it means a lot for this structure to surpass what we have just seen.
To give you an idea on how big some of these structures are on the moon compared to the structures here on Earth, let's begin with the tallest statues in the world. This is a comparison in sizes for you to learn. Christ the Redeemer that rests atop a mountain in Rio de Janeiro is 39.6 meters or 130 feet tall. Next is the Motherland Calls, located in Russia, which stands 91 meters or 298 feet tall from the tip of the sword to ground level. Then we have the Statue of Liberty standing at 93 meters or 300 feet tall. The tallest statue of them all is the Spring Temple Buddha in China, standing at 153 meters or 503 feet tall. All of these architectural marvels were made by humans here on Earth. As an example of the time it took to make these statues, the Statue of Liberty took 21 years to be transformed from an idea to a copper and steel statue that graces New York's harbor. Let's revisit Aristarchus. It is 25 miles in diameter and has a depth of 12,000 feet or 2¼ miles. When you compare this crater to the surrounding structures, such as the one that resembles an eel with its mouth open, you have to realize that the structure is massive. It's about a third of the size of Aristarchus. Who has the technology to build such a structure, and what does it mean? What is its purpose? The pyramids are wonders we can't explain. But here you have a statue that is massive. Because there is no data anywhere on any NASA website or journals about this statue, we don't have an accurate measurement as to its size. So we had to rely on good old-fashioned comparisons with known objects that we know its measurements. We took the aerial photo of both the statue and Aristarchus from about 170 miles above. We isolated the two areas in identical sized squares, then we put them side by side without manipulating their sizes. Next, we enlarged both squares by enhancing the brightness on the square with the statue. You can now see it a little better. We then isolated the statue and copied and pasted onto the crater and stacked them on top of each other. It took 4 statues piled up to fill the diameter of the crater. So by looking at this and knowing the diameter of the crater being 25 miles, this means 25 miles divided by 4 gives us an estimate size of the statue being approximately 6¼ miles tall. Again, without the exact measurements, we just don't know, but it's taller than the tallest statue here on Earth. This 6-mile-tall statue seen side by side with the tallest statue on the Earth dwarfs them in size by miles. On the subject of objects and structures that appear to be underwater, here's a perfect example. We have this statue, and near it you can see what appears to be a monument of some kind, maybe a building or steps leading up to an entrance. We don't know how else to describe these massive structures. Someone built or sculpted the statue, but how? How in the world can anyone sculpt a statue miles high and miles wide? Here on Earth it's impossible, yet on the moon, there it is, something very large that resembles a type of humanoid unlike us. So if the statue on the moon is 6¼ miles tall, which is not an impossibility, you have to imagine whoever built the moon statue was capable of doing the impossible.
There are many of you that will find everything I present here as an insult, or that I am hoaxing this, or I am just another conspiracy theory nutcase. That is your option. You have the freedom to do so. I just want you to remember it is your freedom to be able to know the truth, so you can make intelligent decisions in your beliefs. Being denied the truth about the moon means only one thing, and that is your freedom of thought has been taken away from you. You have been conditioned to think inside their box. The rest of us who think outside the box stand united because we know exactly where we stand in the scheme of things. I can't help thinking about my family, knowing my mother and father, their parents, and the millions of people who left this earth, never knowing the true essence of our moon. Just knowing they were denied this knowledge gives me a great sadness for them. I imagine, however, they are all smiling at us from wherever they are, knowing the answers to our mysteries. Our moon is not that far away. It is the most beautiful celestial body within our reach. For Bill Bryson, I have the greatest respect, and I admire his determination in finding the way for you and I to visit and view the moon in all its glory from right here on Earth. My gratitude extends to the many of you that helped me make this film possible with your generous contributions, whom without, this film would have never been made.
Okay, so you got a good idea what's going on with the moon, you know, what's really up there. You know, a lot of you probably never even thought about it, even had the thought to even think about it. I mean, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, the average nigga is in fucking La La Land. Like, they don't give a fuck about shit. You know what I mean? Only thing they worry about is getting their dick wet and getting some money. That's all these fucking niggas is worried about. So, you know, the average Edomite, they don't know shit either. Alright, these devils, they've been teaching you a bunch of lies. The ones that actually know something, they gonna lie to you. Alright, so that's what it is. But that's what's really going on the moon right now. So, get into my next video. These so-called UFOs that been flying, you know, people see flying around here. You got plenty of footage on YouTube if you haven't seen some already. You know what I mean? Of cell phone videos and all types of videos of UFOs, so-called UFOs, because they're not UFOs. They're IFOs. They're the chariots of Israel. That's what those are. So I'm going to get into the scriptures that prove that. And I'm going to start with Amos 9:2 first. And Amos 9:2 says, "Though they dig into hell, thence shall my hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. And though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I will search and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them." Okay, so I'm going to go back to verse 2, and it says, "Though they dig into hell, thence shall my hand take them." Okay, so right here when it says, though they dig into hell, he's talking about digging into the earth. Okay, now this scripture also proves that there is no spiritual place after you die called hell. Okay, when you die, your soul goes back to the Father. Okay, there ain't no spiritual place where you burn for eternity. Your soul burns for eternity. You know what I mean? While the rest of the people that didn't go there end up in heaven for the rest of eternity. No. All right. Eventually, I'm going to do a video on reincarnation because we're all reincarnated. All right, first off. All right, second of all, going back to the scripture, it says, though they dig into hell. Okay, so if you dig into hell, how can you dig into a place that's spiritual, first off? All right, so it's not talking about that. It's talking about the earth. Okay, the lowest form of hell is when you die. All right, so when you're 6 feet under and they bury your ass, that's hell. Okay. That's what hell means. When you're dead, that's hell. All right. So, though they dig into hell, thence shall my hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. So, like in the late 60s, early 70s, when these devils started taking their Apollo missions, up to the moon, supposedly, and, putting their space stations out in space, that's when the Lord really started bringing them down. Okay, that's when the chariots of Israel started showing up, and they would start showing up more frequently. Before you have a sight here and there, somebody might see a chariot here and there, but during the 60s and 70s, when they were these devils were trying to get into space, and do things that they ain't supposed to be doing, that's when the Lord started bringing them down. Okay, that's when the chariots started showing up a lot more frequently. All right. So I'm going to get to the next scripture, which is Zechariah 5:1. So Zechariah 5:1 says, Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the earth, of the whole earth. For every one that stilleth shall be cut off as on this side according to it. Okay, so when Judgment Day comes, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a whole lot of chariots. Okay, when the Lord comes back, that's how he's coming. All right, he's coming in his chariots. He's not going to be alone. All right, it's going to be thousands of chariots in the sky, and everybody's going to see him. All right, so he's talking about a flying roll. He says, Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. All right, so he's obviously talking about a chariot. He's talking about a so-called UFO. All right, he probably saw a disc. All right. So my next scripture, I'm going to help edify it a little bit more than that. And this is Numbers 12 and 10. So Numbers 12 and 10. And it says, And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, wherein we have sinned. So what happened was, basically, Miriam and Aaron, they were talking about how Moses was married to an Ethiopian, all right? Talking, basically saying he shouldn't be doing that. The Lord didn't like that because Moses was his chosen, the one who brought Israel out of Egypt, okay, the one he chose to save Israel, okay. So, due to the fact she was out of place as a woman, you shouldn't be talking bad about prophets, okay. That's not your place. So what he did, the Lord he took a chariot. The chariot came above Miriam, and the chariot turned her leprous. Okay. So when it says the clouds departed, you see that a lot in the Bible. Okay, you see that when the Lord was being baptized by John, and the cloud departed. And actually when the Lord went up, the cloud, you went up into the clouds. Okay, so when you hear about the clouds, a lot of times we're talking about the chariots. Okay, you saw on Independence Day, the movie, when the chariot was coming out of the sky, the so-called UFO was coming out of the sky. Okay, but first it was a reddish cloud first. Okay, then eventually the chariot poked through that cloud. All right, so that's the same thing what was going on. Okay, because they, the guys that make these movies, they know a little something. All right, they know what's going on. All right, so that's what happened. The chariot came above Miriam and turned her as leprous. So she turned white as snow from this chariot. So I'm going to get into the second 2 Kings 2 and 12. Alright. 2 Kings 2:12. I'm starting on verse 11. 2 Kings 2, verse 11. It says, "And it came to pass, as they still went on, and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, and horses of fire, and parted them asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces." So this is clear evidence of Elisha seeing his father Elijah being taken up by a chariot. Okay, when it says the horsemen thereof, it's talking about the angels. That's what's in those chariots. All right, the angels of the Lord. All right, and the angels ain't no damn aliens. All right, ain't no fucking green goblins running them fucking chariots. All right. Those is black Israelite men in those chariots. Okay? So, that's what it is. So, I want to reread it. "And it came to pass, as they went on and talked, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, the horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven." Alright, so Elijah actually didn't die. Okay? He's actually one of the prophets that, basically he never died. He's not the only one because, the Lord, he died, but he was resurrected. But Elijah, he never actually died. He actually went straight into heaven, into the chariots, and that's the example of it. So when you're talking about, you see these UFOs out here, they're actually talking about the chariots of Israel. Okay, that's gonna be our salvation out of here. All right. So when it says we're gonna be beamed up, the saved are gonna, that's how we're gonna be saved out of here. Those chariots are gonna beam us up out of here. They're gonna take us back to Israel, our homeland. Okay, so that's how you're gonna be saved. All right. So if you ain't one of the 1/3 or the 144,000. Okay, the chariot, that could be your demise. That might be how you die. All right. So if you don't die from these race wars, all right, that are about to take place, all right, the martial law, you don't die from that. That's going to take place. Okay. If you don't get hit by, the men of the Lord don't come get your ass. All right. Or one of these chariots actually don't hit you with some laser shit, and blow your motherfucking top off, your end demise, probably, if you're living in America, the last thing that's going to take you out is them nukes. So if you're not one of the 1/3, that's probably going to be how you go out of here. It's probably going to be one of them 4 ways. Alright, so it's going to be a lot of things that's going to take place, and those are the 4 main things that are going to happen. So, like I said, the chariots don't get you, well, the nukes is going to get you. Alright, but that's another topic, and I'll be definitely getting into that, because that's where we at right now. We're at the end of the world, and, shit's about to get crazy. Alright, but when Judgment Day comes and the Lord comes back, he's coming back with his chariots. Alright, and I got a great visual. People got, they got a lot of shots on YouTube of, just cell phone videos, regular cameras and stuff like that, but this next video is actually telescopes, okay? And, you're going to see some angels, you're going to see some chariots, you're going to see some shit, alright? And it might blow your mind, but, if you're one of the Lord's, they're ours, alright? The chariots are with us, they're for us, alright? And the angels of the Lord, they're here for us. So you don't have nothing to fear, everything's all good. So, let me get into the next video.
Here we have an amateur astronomer capable of catching these things with his small telescope and a small camcorder. As it always goes with discoverers of great things, he has no funding, no high-end telescopes, no high-end cameras. If the starships that John Leonard Walson has captured in deep space are ours, then I am glad we have them out there protecting our planet. What they are protecting us from is thought-provoking, to say the least. These things are enormous. On the other hand, if they are not ours, I wonder who or what is operating them.
There was a fear then of something out there. It became a very big concern. Asteroids, UFOs, people coming from other places. Paranoia was also there within the government. At certain levels, you could feel it. You knew it was happening. I noticed the satellites' positionings. I said, now this is supposed to be a system that tracks radar anomalies on Earth, right? You know, the whole thing, the movement. Yep, that's what it does. And I said, so why are half of them pointed towards the outer space? Towards the moon, towards areas that are just blank space? Well, I don't know, was the reply. He says, never thought about it. He says, well, at least half of those satellites you got up there aren't looking at Earth. I said, what are they looking for? He says, well, you got to have need to know about that. I said, I see. In other words, who's coming? He says, we don't know. End of subject.
So, basically, the UFOs, so-called UFOs, and the chariots, they are here, okay, and they're always going to be here, all right? So, that pretty much concludes my video. I hope I got a lot of information out as far as, what's really going on with the Earth. Like I said, the Earth don't spin, don't revolve around the sun. The Earth doesn't move, just like the scriptures say. All right. So hopefully you got, some edifying. You got some knowledge, and hopefully I'm gonna make quite a few videos. I want to make a lot of videos. I got a lot of topics to talk about. The main thing is, bless the 1/3, death to the 2/3. Death and slavery to these other nations, and I'm going to see you in the next round.